move came after a phone call between President Trump and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Sunday. It goes against efforts by senior U.S. officials to dissuade Turkey from carrying out this operation.
The White House did not specify in its statement if the move now constitutes a full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria, but Turkey will now be responsible for all of the captured ISIS fighters who are currently.
The U.S. is pulling troops from northern Syria, allowing Turkey to take control over the region surrounding Afrin. Now, the White House announced late Sunday that Turkey is ready to launch an offensive in northern Syria and that U.S. forces will stand aside, renewing fears that America is abandoning Kurdish allies who stood in the front line for years against the battle against ISIS. Now, if you are even remotely familiar at all with any sort of conflict in the Middle East, you know that this was going to happen. The Kurdish militants on the ground knew that this was inevitable. Turkey knew that this was inevitable. The U.S. State Department officials knew that this was inevitable. And of course, it happened. Trump then turned around and tweeted something out after a lot of people criticized him, claiming that he had stated strongly before, and just to reiterate, if Turkey does anything that I, in my great and unmatched wisdom, considered to be off limits, I will totally destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey as I've done before. And the reality is Turkey has already taken military action in the region. Of course, Turkey's taken military action in the region in the past, where there was an actual offensive in Kurdish-dominated northwestern Syria, slowly pushing the Kurdish militia out of that region of Afrin, which Turkey captured back in March 2018. This area was previously under Russian control, and the next region that Turkey will take over is going to be the area that was under U.S. control. The reality is, look, I believe that Kurds have a right to an independent nation state in the region. It's not. I think that is a thing that they deserve to have. However, I don't think that the United States was ever going to help Kurds do this, considering that historically Kurds have only been valuable to the U.S. as an insurgency group that can be trained and used against other regional powers in the region that the U.S. regards as adversaries. So while I support the de-escalation and withdrawal of U.S. military from all parts of the Middle East, this decision does seem to have been made as a concession to the Turkish government, which had a contentious relationship with the United States since the Trump administration reneged on the sale of F-35 jets as Turkey moved forward with the purchase of Russian S-400 missile systems. Then the U.S. administration actually ended up taking Turkey out of the production deal as well of the F-35 jets. And ultimately, this seems like a concession. However, there is an upside to this potentially. Now, obviously, every military excursion is going to be violent, and it's terrible, and it's bad. I don't support it. However, Turkey is in a unique situation here where they have to potentially allow for a nation state to develop in Rojava, considering that a Kurdish nation state in the region, in which Turkey can engage in diplomatically, could be a lot more favorable than full-scale genocide of ethnic Kurdish minorities in the northeastern Syrian region, which would have tremendous amounts of retaliation in Turkey through PKK and other terror groups. So it is actually more beneficial for Turkey to allow a nation state to develop in the region, and I hope they do that. On top of that, Turkey also has an ambitious plan to resettle Afrin with the nearly 4 million Syrian refugees that are currently in Turkey. Now, some people have actually criticized this. They think this is a ambitious plan, but it's also a plan to control the region. It is true. I think this is a plan to still maintain some control over the region because there will be Turkish infrastructure in the area. Even though the population of that region will still be Syrian, I think that there will be Turkish control over those over those regions rather than the current Kurdish control that existed in the aftermath of 8 years of civil war, where American-backed Kurdish militia forces took over plenty of areas in that region. So we shall see what happens. I don't know if it's as black or white as the American media is currently portraying it, but also I have very little faith that the Turkish government is going to deal with this as civilly and as peacefully as possible either. I'm Hasan Piker, and this has been The Breakdown.